Welcome,
Searching for
everyone.
music for your next video?
No?
Then you need to check out our list.
No, we're not. Let's try that again.
Okay, let's try that again. Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And tonight, my show, Defenders Without Borders, will seek to bring you information about those defending what I consider to be indefensible, what I consider to not make any sense whatsoever. Human smuggling, human trafficking, and the exploitation of people in the caravan, the migration, the exploitation of the suffering of others. And somehow, this is being called defending human rights. People shielding themselves behind this idea that they are defending human rights, including members of our own Congress, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who tonight I will show you did not denounce the terrorist bombing of that detention facility by an Antifa man, Mr. Von Spronson, who I showed you is connected directly, friends with the founder of the Border Support Network, Evan Duke. But let's not forget that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez herself is connected to Dream Defenders, founded by none other than the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, the people that brought us the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock via one of their staffers, not Michael A. Wood Jr., it was Wesley Clark Jr., and who also, amongst those Dream Defenders, Justice Democrats, the Justice Democrats that was created by Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, also employs Mark Lane of the Minority Humanitarian Foundation. There's a lot of connections between those, the Young Turks, the Turks themselves, the Turkish people, and the connections to the people in Justice Democrats. A colleague of mine did a report recently about how Ilhan Omar had met with Recep Erdogan prior to being in Congress, when she was just a state legislator in the state of Minnesota. A report that I did, how long ago, Duke?
Geez, I can't remember how long it's been.
But it was one that I did recently, several months ago, of course, where I talked about the connections between Ilhan Omar and Recep Erdogan, and reminded my audience of how there is a lot of connections to Recep Erdogan's government, the Turks, here in the United States that I had shown before, going back to General Wesley Clark and his son, Wesley Clark Jr., the Young Turks themselves, and many other actors in a show that I did called, Self-Loathing Mexicans, I believe it was called. Nemo, if you can find that show and toss it into the comments, that would be great, because it is the show in which I explained all of those connections with another of the Justice Democrat Congress members, Ilhan Omar. In fact, I'll toss it into the script here, Nemo, and you can just throw it in. There's the video. Self-Loathing Mexicans. The reason I titled that show Self-Loathing Mexicans was because I was being called that, and many other people like Oscar El Blue Ramirez and any other Mexican who has dared to speak out against the indefensible human smuggling and other activities that we've seen in Mexico and at our southern border. And for that, I was called a self-loathing Mexican, among other Mexicans. Tonight's show, I'm going to talk about these people that are defending the indefensible and calling it the defense of human rights. And I will also be sharing with you a video of AOC where she basically refuses to denounce that bombing I talked about. And I will show you some of the posts by Evan Duke where they are still talking about guns, about violence, and a page called They Can't Stop All of Us Revolution, where there is a call. They're calling people to go out and get involved. And I'm also going to remind you that the people that are connected to these activists have used these crises, whether it is the crisis at our southern border or any other manufactured or otherwise disaster, for them to make money and scam people like Mr. Terrence Daniels, who has recently popped up again only to try to defraud people once more. The lesson behind this, folks, is that when these people aren't stopped, they continue to commit crimes. Crime after crime after crime. As long as nobody stops them, they keep going. That's the lesson we need to learn. And I'm going to share with you who is posting about this defense. It's called the Frontline Defenders. We're going to be digging into who they are and what they are promoting and why it's happening right now. We'll, throw out some theories that I have, get into who all is behind these Frontline Defenders, and also I'm going to, for a moment, talk about what's happening in Hawaii connected to water protectors and the people in the Border Support Network, because it's something that you wanted to hear more about. All of that will be on tonight's show here on A Mexican Crossing Lines. But first, I want to thank my audience for all of their support. Please, if you want to see the pairing of Cindy Duke and Oscar El Blue Ramirez in Tijuana next month, donate to our travel fund. We're going to be going down there to do some amazing work together. Anytime I get to work with Oscar El Blue Ramirez, it is a delight. The man is a machine. He's one of the hardest workers I have ever met, and I got to see him in person. I don't know if I can keep up with him, but I'm definitely going to try. And thank you to all of you who sent me messages and who sent me screen captures, and for all of your hard work. I am infinitely grateful. I really couldn't do the show without all of you and your support and your input. So, Duke, how can people get a hold of us?
Many different ways. And as Cindy said, thank you very much for the support. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for the messages and liking our page. We continue to get more and more likes, and I always invite people to like the page. Once they've viewed it or made some sort of reaction, you can get hold of us in a lot of different ways. We have a message line that you can call and leave a voice message. It's 701-566-0917. Again, it's 701-566-0917. You can leave a message up to 3 minutes, and some people say it's okay to put it on the air. Some people say, I just want to leave you a voice message and tell you what I think, give you some information, a telephone number, different things like that, and we'll get back to you. You can also tweet us at media_PPP, and you can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project of Mexi-Can. And don't hesitate to go to our website, kpppfm.com. That's where we put the shows up. I think I'm up to date. I might be behind one show, but we will put the audio files up. We take the audio and we'll strip it down and make it suitable to play on the air here in Fargo Moorhead, because we are a non-profit, non-commercial radio station, 88.1 here in Fargo Moorhead. And we have a reach of about 165 to 185,000 people. And people hear these shows every day, usually the day after we do them. We put the videos up on our webpage too, and those are coming from our YouTube channel, Duke 1517. If you please go there and subscribe to that channel, you get notified when we put the videos up. They'll be in high definition. Of course, they won't have the comments that you can see on Facebook, but you'll see a good quality video playback of the show we did. Some people aren't on Facebook. More and more people are following us on YouTube. We have 1,135 subscribers now. they all get notified every time I put a show up, and those are gaining steam on YouTube. And still waiting for YouTube to approve this partner agreement. I don't know what's up with them, but I guess they're backlogged and they haven't been doing any action, so we can't do some of the fun things for the YouTube Live, which we'll do from time to time, but we want to keep on doing Facebook Lives because this has been our connection with you, with many people across this country and other countries. We get viewers from all over the world, and we thank you for that. When you're at kpppfm.com, please go to the /donate button, kpppfm.com, and we will, if you make a donation, it's a tax-deductible donation. It supports our work. We're fundraising to be able to go back to Tijuana again, and that was an excellent trip we did before, but we'd like to spend more quality days with Oscar. He's been doing some excellent work, and we need to go support him. We've been working with him all the way up here in North Dakota, Minnesota, and almost talk to him daily, and we watch his shows. I encourage you to do that too. And so if you would please look at our website, make a donation, and we'll give you a tax receipt, and you'll help us do our work, and we really appreciate the support you've given us. We would not be in the position we're in today if it wasn't for viewers and listeners like you, so thank you.
And let me tell you, both Oscar and I have been getting attacks levied against us by a number of different folks. Many of them have been recently featured in our programs. Mm-hmm. And what that tells me is that we are kicking butt and taking names. For these people to have gone to the lengths that they're going to, just a little message for Mitchell Verderer, who is running around trying to get a hold of all the peeps and tell them, that I'm attacking people. I'm not the one breaking boards on people or spitting on them or threatening them. That's you, Mitchell. That's on you. And I'm not the one getting arrested either. So sorry it's not working out for you. Sorry that it's triggering you, that we are exposing what and who you are. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep defending the truth and exposing what is happening because it is the right thing to do. And I wanted to share with you folks, just to start off, that this rhetoric, this propaganda, it has consequences. You saw in my last show that Mr. Von Spronson that attempted to blow up the vehicles and a building, a detention facility where people that are migrants are being detained, putting the lives of law enforcement and the migrants all at risk, was Antifa, put in his manifesto the same kind of rhetoric, the same kind of language used by the irresponsible Congress members from Justice Democrats, from the Democratic Socialists of America, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And in this tweet, BLN News posted how they confronted her about this and said, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez refuses to condemn the Antifa terrorist attack on ICE facility in Washington state, despite the fact that the attacker uses her rhetoric in his manifesto. Here's a video clip showing her refusal. I mean, she could have just said, of course, somebody just tried to blow up a building and vehicles and damage property at a detention facility. I mean, it was bad enough that she posed herself and put these pictures out of these posed pictures of her crying in front of an empty parking lot. But the fact that the hypocrisy, in fact, behind a person like her inciting violence with her words and then refusing to acknowledge her activities, it's really stunning. Take a look for yourselves here.
Will you condemn Antifa for the attack in Washington?
We'll be making statements.
It's easy to condemn a terrorist attack. Will you be condemning Antifa?
We'll be making statements.
They firebombed an American facility. Will you condemn them?
Excuse us, we have to get to the minute.
Will you be condemning them? Do you feel like you have some responsibility in the attack with your rhetoric about concentration camps? Are you responsible? Do you feel ashamed?
No, she has no feelings of shame. And
Yeah.
she's definitely not going to condemn something that she is so close to. I have showed you here on this show. I don't know if the guy asking those questions realizes how close she is to Evan Duke. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was out at Standing Rock with the guy that started the Border Support Network that's friends with the terrorist that bombed at that ICE facility. She was out at Standing Rock with all of the people that started the Border Support Network, the Antifa leadership. She's like this with all of that Antifa leadership. She's like this with the people from the Young Turks that gave her her career, that funded her career. So no, I wouldn't wait for that. I would probably sit down if you're going to wait for that, because it's going to be a long wait before AOC takes any responsibility, or any of the Justice Democrats, any of the members of the Democratic Socialists of America that are in Congress that are behind a lot of the rhetoric. That's what they were put in Congress to do. They were put in Congress to do the bidding of the people that funded them, like all politicians. We know that. That's what politicians do, right?
Right.
Who paid for your activities there? And like Mitchell Verderer, the idea that they are hijacking Mexican revolutionaries, people that made Mexico independent, people that brought us the Constitution and the laws of our country. And he's trying to romanticize and rewrite that history in the image of Antifa. I showed you how Mitchell Verderer, the guy got arrested in Tijuana, was going around the world teaching this nonsense about a Mexican revolutionary. Well, he's apparently not the only one. This is a trend now. Alexander Avina on Twitter also did the same, saying, for some reason, the incident of the bombing, he's referring to the incident of the ICE facility. Look at this. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call it stupid because I feel it's stupid. It's pendejo. It's a pendejada what they're doing here. And Alexander's comparison here, I think, would be refuted by many Mexicans, especially by the people that know this history. No, it is not connected to Antifa. It is not. You can try and connect it as much as you want because the guy that bombed the facility is an anti-fascist, or call it self-titled anti-fascist, and a violent one at that. But that's what they're trying to do here. Check it out. For some reason, he says in his Twitter account, Alexander_Avina, he says, for some reason, this incident reminds me of the famous incident that occurred during the 1910 Mexican Revolution, sparked by the actions of an anarchist, one of the city boys, to borrow from Samuel Bonk, that worked with Emiliano Zapata. No, keep scrolling, honey. Let me read more of this nonsense to you. It says, at the 1914 Aguascalientes Convention, the anarchist Antonio Soto y Gama, okay, they're all anarchists. Apparently, every Mexican in history is an anarchist. Vice chair of the Zapatista Commission, refused to sign the Mexican flag like the rest of the revolutionary participants had done so. Soto y Gama said, in the last analysis, this flag represents nothing more than the triumph of the clerical reaction championed by Agustin Iturbide. Gentlemen, I will never sign this banner. We are making a great revolution today to destroy the lies of history, and we're going to expose the lie of history that is in this flag, that which we have been wont to call our independence was no independence for the native race, but for the Creoles alone. The rest of the revolutionaries reacted furiously to the speech, which left with left hands pounding their chests and their right hands on their pistols for all were mad, according to an observer. Sotoyama's words delivered while he crumpled the Mexican flag in his fist generated quite a controversy within a convention that was intended to smooth over differences and conflicts between revolutionary factions. What does the flag mean today, raised in front of an ICE facility that likely houses Central American refugees and asylum seekers, asylum seekers that have experienced all sorts of horrific violence, death, exploitation, mistreatment, persecution in Mexico? Oh my God, this guy is so messed up.
Yep.
By the way, he's actually not referring to the explosion. He's referring to the other event that, to me, appeared to be staged, where they took down the Mexican flag. Or the American flag and put up the Mexican flag.
Yep.
Yeah. And he says, what does this flag represent today in the context of Mexico's current government and its decisions to become, in effect, Trump's gendarme? Mexico as, oh my God, I can't stand this guy.
Yeah.
He's un pendejo. He's like, there's Flores y Magón. Now Flores y Magón is in there too. Oh my God, take this down. Take it down. No more.
No mas.
I can't. No, I
No
can't.
mas,
I
no
just
mas.
want to give you an example that Mitchell, Verder, and these types are taking. You cannot take the history of the Mexican people and their independence and just throw Antifa in there wherever you feel you want to. That's ridiculous, and it's stupid. These Antifa people are stupid. And Evan Duke posted some is that the next thing that we got here?
Yeah.
This he commented on this post that can you go back to the top to see who it was that posted it?
Yeah.
It's Josh Lawrence posted this memes that's got a white man wearing an American flag and a Confederate flag hat, and a black man bumping fists with him that has a African flag on his pants, a gun in his back. Both of them are carrying guns, actually. And he's got Malcolm X on the back of his shirt. And at the top, it says, the establishment, something. The only thing the establishment truly fears is these two people are pounding fists and saying, I got your back, brother. And this is hilarious to me, honestly, because
Evan Duke commented,
right,
this meme has got to go. I feel we should be having conversations about how the left and right can work together in a class struggle, but not with Nazis and racists.
Not with Nazis and racists. And Dominique says, I honestly see nothing that denotes the fella on the left as a Nazi or a racist.
Really?
Beep.
Confederate flag.
His garb is less offensive than the Young Patriots, and they were allied with the Black Panthers. Look, I guess these guys are fools too, and there's a bunch of Black Panthers sitting together with the Young Patriots who have the Confederate flag behind them. And then he goes on to say, I mean, I definitely asked him to clarify the do-rag or the baseball cap, but the fact that he's running with the dude on the right would kind of make it a dumb question. I did miss the cap originally. And Evan says, how do we begin a conversation with the left and the right about an inclusive class struggle? Reach out to non-racist libertarian groups and write up a manifesto, go from there, spread widely? I'm being serious. We need to move ahead together while excluding crappy ideologies and people. And so, while he pretends that he cares about working with people within this struggle, the truth is that Antifa is anti-government. They are against everything that is the government. And what they are calling people to do is to reject the government and to destroy institutions of government, and also to calling for people to go into these violent situations. One of the pages being promoted right now is called They Can't Stop All of Us Revolution. Here's their Facebook page. It has posts like this one that say, "My friends and comrades, keep in mind this isn't a majorly popular meme page. I created the They Can't Stop Us All. They Can't Stop All of Us the same day I did the event. I shared on my last show an event called They Can't Stop Us All,
Oh, yeah.
where people are being called to basically go throw some hygiene items over a fence at a building.
But bring some bolt cutters and some wire clippers, too.
Exactly. You remembered.
Oh, yeah.
Storming these different ice facilities in the hopes that nothing goes wrong. What could go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And it says most of these giant storming events were created by existing memes, pages, groups with many followers. So far, we have, all of us, managed to get this far. This event, the largest of its kind as far as my knowledge. I just want to thank everyone for sticking around to help get the ball rolling. Storm Area 51 is definitely peak meme. Not only mainstream media covered it, but the military has responded. That is insane. This storming meme has significant potential, even if the Area 51 storm fails to be serious. It doesn't matter. It's not a very tangible goal to be taken seriously right out of the bat. I've created the page to hopefully with the help of followers direct this fad into a revolutionary potential. Does that mean every event is serious? It's only as serious as the participants choose it to be. I'm just some person running a meme page, event page. Carry on, memers.
Memers, yeah.
Carry on, memers.
Carry on, memers.
So, hey, go and storm an ice facility and hope that you don't get shot. Maybe you'll live.
Yeah, really.
That's what they're calling people to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems redonkulous to me, but I guess everybody has their own opinions. Anyway, let's look at what Evan Duke is asking you to storm today. Remember, he is the founder of the Border Support Network, self-titled anti-fascist and anarchist. And this is what he wants you to do. He's calling for the storming of the Amazon headquarters and fulfillment centers.
Great.
Damn it, Duke. Evan Duke, if you get my order, slow down, I swear.
I know.
Don't mess with my merchandise, okay?
Some people order toilet paper through Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people order lots of things through Amazon, and you better not interfere with my orders because I'm going to get upset. But that's not all that he is proposing. Take a look at this post that he made where they're talking about weapons. This is about AR-15s. Remember, the terrorist that just attempted to bomb, that was killed attempting to bomb a Tacoma, Washington ice facility, is an anarchist, and he had a gun, and it was an AR, an unregistered one, he said. Take a look at what he said here. He's reposting Jesse Kelly DC tweet saying, "Why do I need an AR-15? Because someday the government will tell me I'm not allowed to put my sick son on a plane and fly him to Italy for treatment. And believe me, when I tell you, I will put him on that plane." Hashtag Alfie Evans. And somebody named Jules_SU tweets back, quote, "I need an AR-15 in case I need to hijack a plane to fly my son to a country with socialized healthcare is currently my favorite take on gun ownership."
Yeah.
And this is what was posted by Evan Duke from the Revolutionary Memes. And below, people comment and joke and say, "Come on, man, we know the government is corrupt, so why would we give up our right to bear arms?" And Duke says, "Oh, hell no. Nobody should be turning their guns in."
Yeah.
So the call to arms still out there, still going strong. And what is this causing? Folks, we have seen the closure of the border in Tijuana costing millions of dollars on both sides of the border by these Border Support Network activists and the migrants they control. Why do I say they control them? Because they control them with drugs, according to Pastor Albert Rivera, because they control where they go. Many of these people that are these supposed escorts are nothing more than glorified coyotes, smugglers, human smugglers, like the people in Pueblos Sin Fronteras, right? So this is the result. Here's an article from EPNnewsleader.com discussing what has taken place 2 days ago at the Del Rio International Bridge. A migrant riot on the Mexican side. Del Rio, Texas reports elements of Customs and Border Protection with the assistance of the Texas Department of Public Safety were forced to shut down International Bridge 1 in Del Rio, Texas. Why? The effectuated closure of the International Bridge that connects Del Rio, Texas with its Mexican neighbor of Acuña, Coahuila was derivative of a riot taking place on the Mexican side of the border. Heavy law enforcement presence was witnessed at the location, capturing travelers' attention for approximately 2 hours. According to sources, hundreds of immigrants gathered on a Mexican side to protest, forcing the shutdown that created a great sense of discomfort among citizens of both Del Rio and Acuña. Eventually, the International Bridge was reopened to through traffic.
Wow.
Have you ever seen this before? I told you, and I've said it again, that any other situation where you stop commerce or travel in and out of this country would be considered a terrorist threat.
Exactly.
When have you ever seen anything like this? Like the guy that was crossing the 2 Chinese immigrants and had a shootout with Border Patrol.
Heaven is that people are going crazy, and it's these people that are leading them into it. They've gotten people so worked up, and they've filled them with so many lies and misconceptions and misinformation, and now they're calling in on them. I mean, this is pretty dangerous, scary stuff. Remember, Evan Duke was accused of moving weapons through borders. He's and he claims that none of that stuff was his. And he has been at the head of this these so-called anti-Antifa, anarchist-style organizations. Which, by the way, if you're an anarchist, there's no such thing as organization. But all these anarchists seem to be running organizations and running this stuff as leadership, which they always profess they have no leaders. It's just the people moving on their own. It's just people doing stuff themselves. They're leaderless. They're just acting on the humanity and, the ideology that things need to change. And for them to start comparing themselves to the Mexican Revolution, it's like you got to study history a little bit more and look at what that revolution was all about. And also remember there was a fight for independence 100 years before that. And you got to couple in all the pieces of the resistance in Mexico. And it's nothing to compare to what they're doing. They're being thugs. They're being basically anti-government, and they're trying to ride under the rights of people in this country to do harm to many, many people.
Look, if you don't want to believe it from the people in this government because you hate Trump and you can't stand to hear the sound of his voice, I get it. I understand you. But listen to a Mexican crossing lines. Listen to Marcelo Ebrard. Listen to the president in Mexico. Listen to the people there. They are being smuggled. Every single one of these people represents between $3,000 and $5,000 to $8,000 for the people smuggling them. And you know what? Most of them are being left stranded. They're not being taken all the way to the end point. They're not being brought all the way into the United States. And even those that are being scammed because what they were promised was a legal stay. A long time ago, when I was the editor of the High Plains Reader, I did a cover story about the Cast 23. Do you remember that story?
I sure do.
I have been a paralegal working with immigration attorneys, translating in court and going to detention facilities working on people's cases to try to get them here and keep them here and go through a legal process and become citizens. I just went and did a translation for somebody that was becoming a citizen last month. I still do it to this day. And let me tell you that exploiting these people is the worst kind of cowardice, in my opinion. What was done to these people from India that ended up here in
Castleton.
Thank you.
Yep.
Castleton, North Dakota, was that they were lied to. These people from India, many of them who were pipe fitters, who had an education, were promised by an unscrupulous company in India that they were going to get legal papers to stay and work in the United States. All they had to do is come and work for this company in Louisiana. And you know what happened? They kept them locked up like slaves. They kept them living inside of boxcars, like from trains.
Yep.
A whole bunch of them, 6, 7, 8 people in one boxcar, and they were charging them hundreds of dollars per person for the renting of the living space. They kept them on grounds with dogs so they couldn't escape. The group that escaped to Castleton, North Dakota, did so by using false identifications so that they could come and start working at something else. They ended up going to jail for over a year. We called them the Cass 23. You can look it up online. Go follow that story. I got all the paperwork. From that story. The paperwork that was shown to these folks, the lies they were told. And I saw this mountain of evidence. Do you know what happened to those people in the company? They didn't just do it to 23 people that ended up here. They did it to hundreds and hundreds of people. Each of those persons took out loans of $20,000 to $25,000 or more per person so that they could travel all the way over here for this promise that landed them in jail, that landed them in prison, that landed them in a human smuggling operation that turned into slave labor, forced labor for almost no money, and that then landed them in prison. Thankfully, because they were the victims of a crime, they were able to request asylum and were granted asylum to stay in this country. But let me tell you that the unscrupulous people involved in lying to the folks that are coming here en masse now, that financed their trips, that told them there would be transportation, that promised them that they could request asylum, and that gave them the hope that it would be granted, they are cowards for doing such a horrible thing to these people. And let me just repeat, many of them are being bilked. What happens? They cross you into the other side. They turn you into Border Patrol, or they tell you to turn yourself over to Border Patrol. You end up in a detention facility for the photo op that AOC and all these other Congress members are taking the opportunity to get right now so that they can say incredibly clueless and tone-deaf things like shut down all detention facilities, as if that were even an option. And then they get deported back to Mexico or to their countries of origin after having paid thousands and thousands of dollars that they probably borrowed, just like all those people in India did, which they won't be able to pay back, many of which they borrowed from some not so nice people that are going to go after their families for that money. Do you see the chaos, the pain, the horror of what is being done and who it is being done by? Nobody scratches even below the surface to see what is behind these people, like Terrence Daniels. I will give you an example because he has reared his ugly head again, and he continues to exploit people like he has been doing since he was at Standing Rock. Look for yourselves at this request for money, because Terrence Daniels also always is looking for money. He's got that GoFraud.me up. Yep. He wants to do a water drop in Flint, Michigan on the 27th of July. Can you please read that?
Yes, Flint Water Drop, 27th of July, 2019. We'll be distributing water filters specifically to families with small children. Young kids are affected most by contaminated water, causing lifelong health issues. So please do your part. Together, we can make sure as many children as possible have access to clean water. Donate to the People's Fund by Terrence Daniels. Share, show your support. Wow.
And it is incredible that this fraud, who we have previously exposed on the show, is still out there doing his frauding. I don't know if you remember, for those of you who are new to my program, part of what he was accused of doing was raising money for the wildfires in California.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll share some of that with you. But one of the more recent things that he decried was on Hillary's Twitter, where he steals a lot of his pictures that he uses to fundraise from. But in this picture, he is tweeting back at Hillary Clinton, whose tweet said, "A full month has passed since the deadline for the administration to reunite families it separated at the border, but 565 children are still waiting to see their parents again. Hashtag families belong together." And Terrence responds at her tweeting, "Can we set a deadline for you to return the money you stole from Haiti? That affects children and families as well. Hashtag resist." And you can see that he also, for his birthday, is trying to supposedly raise money for homeless veterans. These people, he of course, we know for a fact, and I'm going to share a thread from Luba Williams here for everyone to go and check out for yourself. This woman, Luba Williams, who was actually somebody that sent me this months ago. She has been keeping track of all of his scams for a while now. And once upon a time, a lot of people, even Luba, supported these folks. We were all deceived by these people because they say they're trying to do something good. And people that care about homeless veterans would be like, of course, let me donate to you. But only if only you knew that Terrence Daniels has been scamming people. He went to Puerto Rico to scam people. He went to Houston to scam people. He is now scamming people for money that he claims he's going to give to homeless vets. So I'm going to share this post and the entire thread where Luba Williams has documented all of his scams, which I don't have time to show you today because that would just be a show in and of itself. And I kind of did it before, but I did notice recently that she has added to it because he keeps scamming. So lesson there is you need to stop the scammers. They need to be put in jail. They need to be punished because otherwise they keep defrauding people. In his latest post about the veterans, he says, what, Duke? Read that for me.
My birthday is coming up on the 27th of June. Would like to do a fundraiser to get as many homeless vets into homes as possible. For around $100,000, we can buy almost 5 3-bedroom homes and immediately get some families into homes ASAP. The best way to end veterans' homelessness is to get vets with families into homes. Simple. No games, no huge salaries, just raise money and fix the problem. I know it's a lofty goal, but a worthwhile one.
Yeah.
And then down at the bottom,
He's
click
gotta
here to
go,
support
fraud me.
People's Fund by Terrence Daniels.
Yeah, folks,
Great.
listen, you have to be smarter about how and who you give to. And one of the things that I showed you on the Lolly B video where she's talking about how they need lots and lots of money for all their scams that they're doing and all of their actions. But they don't want to start a nonprofit because then would be accountable and they'd have to file 990s and they'd have to show where they spent the money and how they spent the money and how much money they got. You really do have to do your homework. You have to check into these people a little bit beyond the surface. As Melissa Sharp, watching our show, so eloquently commented, don't donate to charities unless you investigate what they're about. There are some that pretend to help children, but they're actually supporting terrorism. Thank you for that comment. And I agree. It's important to check into it. Because as you know, these people shamelessly do horrible things that exploit the most vulnerable of people while calling themselves heroes, like Luz en la Frontera, Nicole Ramos. And what they're doing is they are starting this movement to defend people, regardless of whether or not what they're doing is really defensible or whether it's an action that will actually have any kind of positive effect. And they're calling themselves Defenders Without Borders. Here's a tweet backing up the actions of Irineo Mujica of Pueblos Sin Fronteras by Daniel C., which is, I can't read his tweet handle, but it's not that important, I guess. You can find Daniel C. if you want, just by looking at his profile pic there on Twitter. He says in Spanish here, I will translate for you. A few moments ago, when Irineo Mujica was going to his hearing to appeal being arbitrarily, no, he was going to his appeal hearing. He was detained arbitrarily by agents of the Mexican Immigration Authority, INAMI, and by agents of the Federal Police of Mexico, and by agents of the National Guard.
Wow.
Having a rough day. Irineo is having a sad, and it says, quieren amenazarlo. They're threatening to detain him. Yeah, that's true. And they should. And what is making these folks so scared is that the Mexican government continues to pursue charges for Irineo Mujica and the investigations against all of the people, as I said, that helped them, that funded them, that work with them, like Pueblos Sin Fronteras and the Border Angels and Diversidad Sin Fronteras and Pitaya Queen and Mark Lane and Minority Humanitarian Foundation and all of the people that Oscar had in his show the other day at Caritas Shelter. All of those people will be investigated. All of those people are being investigated. So what is their response? To get people to say they're victims of oppression from Nazis and fascists. They are victims because they are putting their lives on the line to protect others, which includes Nicole Ramos. Now, I have to tell you the video I'm about to show you that was put out by this group called Frontline Defenders, who is mounting some kind of a rescue mission in the media, in the Twitter sphere, in the social interwebs to try to counteract the fact that there is a number of different places now that have exposed the horrible actions of Pueblos Sin Fronteras, taking money from people, and have exposed, a number of authorities have now exposed that they are investigating the crooked lawyers of Al Otro Lado, that they're looking into the fraud that they are promoting with their fake marriages and all of the things I have shown you evidence of on this show, their participation with Border Support the Border Support Network activists that kidnapped an unaccompanied minor, that were giving drugs to the migrants, etc. All of that evidence, it's getting out there. The word is out and the anger is mounting. And this video was put out yesterday, thanks to all of you who sent it to me. But let's watch it together. Note, this is all old information. The question is, why are they putting it out now?
Exactly.
I have that question because they're talking about what I was reporting on, and they mention Anthony Agüero, and they mention Oscar El Bru Ramirez, although Nicole Ramos se hace pendeja, navega con bandera de pendeja, o se hace pendeja. She tries never to say my name correctly because she don't want somebody to type in a Mexican crossing lines and watch my shows laden with evidence against her. Because you cannot unsee unhear and unknow the criminal activity that she is adjacent to and involved in. You can't. You can't unsee it. You can't unknow it once you've heard it. And you can't continue to support the illegal activity and the unethical activity of these people. So she don't ever say my name right. But let me tell you that this is old news. This is before we went to the ABS conference. Take a listen for yourselves. I will share the link to these videos in a minute.
Protect 1. Empower 1,000. Frontline Defenders. Nicole Ramos directs the Border Rights Project of All Alterado. The project works with asylum seekers. Nicole Ramos.
And then it says in Spanish the same thing.
Mm-hmm. But they say the whole thing.
The main messages that our detractors are spreading about the work of El Otro Lado is that we are human smugglers, that we coach asylum seekers to lie when they're presenting themselves to U.S. authorities at the port of entry, that we are responsible for caravan migration, and we are basically telling
Check
everyone
out the
how easy it is
scarf
to
on
get
her
asylum
chair.
in the United States. That we assist asylum seekers to enter the United States with the use of fraudulent documents, that we kidnap children and have kidnapped unaccompanied minors, that we are paying for the transportation of migrants throughout Mexico, and we receive all of our funding from George Soros. These messages are being spread through a variety of different sources, including a professor at George Mason University named Guadalupe Cabrera, or Correa Cabrera. She, along with a radio personality from North Dakota, Cindy Shutt Gomez, have been working on a study supposedly about our organization, even though they have not once requested any staff member or myself or my 2 co-directors to be interviewed. And this study will purportedly show how we are benefiting financially off of caravans and increased migration of asylum seekers to the border. They will be presenting this study at a conference where I am also to be speaking, the Association of Borderland Studies, which originally Guadalupe Correa Cabrera had gotten herself to be assigned as the moderator of the panel, which I will be presenting our work. And in addition, we have been attacked by other nationalists, including Paloma for Trump, a gentleman named Oscar Blue, another gentleman named Anthony Aguirre, who are Mexican nationalists and Mexican American nationalists, who on the one hand accuse us of being traitors to the United States and committing treason and we should be criminally prosecuted, while on the other hand accusing us of violating Mexican sovereignty and we should also be kicked out of Mexico or criminally prosecuted here. What they seem to forget or not understand is that approximately 40% of the asylum seekers that are waiting at the port of entry and essentially being held hostage by the Mexican government and unable to leave the country in which they fear persecution, they're Mexican citizens. And so by attacking us and preventing us from informing their fellow citizens about their rights in the asylum process, they are potentially putting the rights of their fellow countrymen and countrywomen at risk because we're unable to do our job.
I absolutely did ask her for an interview. You were there.
Yep.
She ran away like she was on fire.
Exactly.
And then I went into Tijuana, and you guys all saw the live stream. I went to the Enclave Caracol shelter and restaurant and whatever, Antifa headquarters in Mexico.
Yep.
One of them anyway. And they freaked out. She freaked out. I had no idea that she was there, but she accused me of having gone to Mexico to harass her when I never even saw her. That is how much she does not want to talk to me. Without ever talking to me, I don't need to talk to you, first of all, because the people that are accusing you have provided evidence. At the ABS conference, Amy Sutton asked you, Are you practicing law without a license in Mexico? She said, no, we only give Know Your Rights trainings. We don't take on any clients in Mexico. Then I crossed the border and I found contracts of people that had contracted with Al Otro Lado for legal work in Mexico. And I showed them to you. And the guy that I interviewed said he didn't want to go back and talk to those people because they encouraged him and told him he would have asylum guaranteed before ever going in front of a judge based on one question. So are they coaching people? Yes. Are they giving people false information and hope? Yes. Have I shown you the evidence of that? Plus the fake marriages and the marriage certificates, the complaints made to Mexican authorities? Yes, all of it. All of it. I didn't spread rumors. I proved every single thing I said. And I showed it to you. So why this propaganda and why so late? I think they wanted to put my name and Oscar's name and all of these people's and Anthony's name. They wanted to put that out there. They wanted to stick us all together in one video. They wanted to put out our names again, even though this is very, very old news. Mm-hmm. This happened a long time ago. And who retweeted that? Why, Pueblo Sin Fronteras. They defended it. They said solidarity with Nicole. Defender, migrant, no es delito. So migrant defenders are not criminals. They want you to know that they are defenders. Defenders without borders. Defenders without scruples, if you ask me. But defenders is what they call themselves. And Pueblo Sin Frontera, Luz en la Frontera, the Twitter account of Nicole Ramos, tweeted this out. Asking for a friend. If we're so worried about border security, why did at CBP San Diego search an Al Otro Lado org staff attorney file at the port of entry, write down clients' names, and jot down notes regarding the files? Looks less like border enforcement and more like fascism to me. And Brooke Binkowski replies at her and says, and if CBP San Diego is so worried about security, why do they pull a completely unintimidating tiny woman with a squeaky clean record and a Sentry card, me, into secondary whenever I cross? And then scream in my face, hand at hip, when I ask to know what exactly is going on. Well, if you're just asking for a friend, I would say probably because of the investigation into your participation in the human smuggling operation and the exploitation of all of these people who are being robbed, lied to, and left stranded. Maybe. Could be that. Also, let's look a little bit deeper. You remember who Brooke Binkowski is? She's not an innocent little dove. Here's a post I shared with you on one of my previous shows a long time ago when Miss Brooke Binkowski was talking about me. And they were using the article in which Evan Duke, Antifa leader connected to the guy that just bombed the ICE facility in Tacoma, Washington, was saying that I was the source that was leading the investigation that caused all of these poor human rights defenders to be investigated by Interpol, CBP, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Mexican immigration authorities, and all of the other alphabet people that are investigating these human smugglers. As if I had that much power. I'd love to. I would love to have that much power, but I don't. And this is what the quote from the article from the San Diego Union Tribune said. Quote, based on questions investigators asked him, Evan Duke,
Yeah.
said he believes it's possible that the investigators are acting upon information provided to law enforcement by right-wing conspiracy groups. He's referring to moi. I am not right-wing, and I am not a conspiracy group. Then he goes on to say, he said a North Dakota talk show host bragged on the air about reporting him and his colleagues to law enforcement. Yes, I did. And I've explained this before, but I'll just remind everyone once again that I notified the Texas, the same authorities that were stopping that riot, that were involved in stopping that riot that I just showed you happened across the border from Coahuila. Those same authorities went to the camps where Evan Duke and his Antifa cronies connected to indigenous people that were at this Carrizo Come Crudo-led camp. And they were lied to. The authorities were lied to. These folks posted videos making fun of the authorities that went there looking for one of these Antifa-connected activists. And I notified them that the person they were looking for was indeed at that camp and that they had been lied to by the people that they spoke to. That's what I did when I reported that I talked to the authorities about him. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I do know for a fact that people that watch my show that have members of their family that are in law enforcement have shared my shows with law enforcement members. People that have watched my show that are running for office or are currently in office have shared my shows with authorities and law enforcement. I have shared my shows with other colleagues, other reporters in this country and in Mexico, and they have shared them with law enforcement. So you know what? If the information is good and you can look into it and it checks out, anybody is welcome to use my information. So what did Ms. Binkowski say in this post? Here's what she said. Well, here's what people were saying. This is atrocious. And if you scroll down even further, you'll notice Mark Lane of Minority Humanitarian Foundation, one of the people working with the Young Turks in Mexico and also in California. And it says, he said, we cross stuff 3 to 4 times a week. They F with us every time we come back. He's referring to Border Patrol. Mm-hmm. That show in North Dakota talks about me being a human trafficker on a regular basis. They've shared videos of me and TJ working. The lady whose show it is, a Mexican, is and super aggressive. They're referring to me.
Yep.
And Brooke thinks they're referring to Paloma Zuniga. And Mark says, no, not Paloma. Paloma's a local, but she provides video and propaganda to them. Oh. She's saying that Paloma I've never spoken to Paloma, nor will I ever speak with Paloma, more likely than not. I have never talked to her. People have sent me videos, and I shared, I think, on one occasion, maybe more than once, a video which captures Family Belongs Together, Paola Mendoza, coaching Maria Mesa, the woman that was famously shown in the tear gas running with her 2 children before she crossed into the United States, and in coordination with Mark Lane and Paola Mendoza and Nicole Ramos and Doug McLean and a bunch of the Border Support Network people that I shared with you that were there, including Nanette Barragan and Congressmember Gomez and their videos that they did about her, all of them working in tandem, in coordination to bring specific folks in. Specific folks like Miss Mesa, who did their bidding, the activists' bidding, who stayed and protested in the streets, who stayed in the tents rather than going to El Barretal, defying the Mexican authorities' help. All of the things who participated in going to the border, to the front line with her kids and running through the tear gas, putting her own children in danger for a photo op. That's how she was rewarded. And that's what Mark Lane and Brooke Binkowski and Nicole Ramos and all these people connected to each other want to hide. Their involvement, their close involvement in trying to wear this mask of human defenders while they actually do harm. And continuing on this thread, Mark Lane posts a link to my show and then my videos from March 8th about Bridges of Love Across Borders. And then Brooke says, thanks. Who's the radio show host? I've seen quite a lot of messaging coordination with InfoWars. Once again, I have no coordination with InfoWars. Never talked to them. And this other person still, despite the fact that none of this stuff is true, decides that they're going to connect me, saying, funny how all these disinformationists know each other.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't. No, I don't. Never have. Never did. It's a lie. But that's what they do. That's what they've been doing. And they do it together. Now, let's look at these frontline defenders. This is their website. They're the ones tweeting about, on this page, they have that video you just saw of Nicole Ramos, okay? And they're not just defending her. Check out who is on their staff. This guy was tweeting that video. His name is, scroll down. That's Andrew Anderson, the executive director on screen right now. Then there's Andrea Roca, who is coordinator for Sub-Saharan Africa from 2008 to 2011. Emma Achille, Laurent Adelhoff, and Jim Lugron. This is the guy that tweeted the videos and the campaign. His name is Adam Shapiro. Adam served as, can you read that one, please?
Adam serves as head of communications and visibility, responsible for campaigning for human rights defenders around the world and working to increase the visibility and respect for HRDs. Adam has led innovative efforts to use storytelling as a new media to try to bring forward the work and struggle of HRDs to global and local audiences, including the development of notification graphic novel series featuring HRDs, including the first book, La Lucha, the story of Lucha Castro and human rights in Mexico, a monthly video series, multiple exposure, radio public service announcement campaigns in Colombia, Honduras, and Macedonia, and multimedia campaigns around mega sports events such as the Olympics and the World Cup.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was looking at all of this. I'm going to dig into it a lot deeper. Obviously, I need to get to know more about who this group is, since they are defending so many human smugglers. Check out their Defenders Beyond Borders page. Here's a list of all of the people that they are featuring, along with Nicole Ramos's video. Again, this was just released yesterday. Oh, by the way, check out who's on their board. I just thought this was really interesting, given all of the connections between the tweets that are promoting all of this today. They've got the guy that's up there at the top, who is from Ireland. You can see there his name he's the executive director. But Mary Lawler is the former executive director. He's from Ireland, runs some big company up there. You can go check out all of the people that are on their staff and their board by going to the website for the frontlinedefenders.org yourselves. But I just thought it was very interesting that Mary was the former executive director of Frontline Defenders, an organization that she established in 2001 to meet the immediate security protection needs of human rights defenders at risk around the world. And she was widely respected in international human rights movements and has been a leading figure in developing rapid response mechanisms and institutional responses for HRDs, human rights defenders. Prior to Frontline Defenders, Mary was the director of the Irish section of Amnesty International. From 1988 through 2000, 2000. Think about that. That's a long time that she was working with Amnesty International. We've seen a lot of them, and we've heard a lot from them, including tweets supporting this craziness, which I will show you. But check out the Defenders Beyond Walls page here. This is from the Frontline Defenders website. And if you scroll down on this page, you will see that they have a description of what they do here. Frontline Defenders, Programa de Asuntos Migratorios, PRAMI for short, from the University Iberoamericana and the National Network of Civil Organizations that defend human rights. They launched a campaign to visibilize the powerful work of activists, organizations, collectives, and shelters ahead of an upcoming investigative report, which they plan to release next month, calling for an end to attack human rights defenders, migrant rights defenders, along all migration routes in the U.S. This is an offensive, okay? This is something that they are doing to counteract all of the reporting and information that has come out about their activities in human smuggling. Featured in this campaign are defenders who walk alongside the caravans. That's called coyotes. Organizations, collectives, and shelters along the migrant route providing humanitarian aid. Is that what you call the human smuggling now? And working for the defense of human rights in a context in which human mobility is criminalized. No, the exploitation of people is criminalized. The faces of the campaign are journalists and researchers documenting the gendered impacts of displacement and anti-migrant violence, humanitarians dropping water and food for families traveling through the deadliest corridors of the Sonoran Desert, queer activists creating community and physical space for trans and genderqueer undocumented communities, and lawyers offering pro bono legal aid and asylum support, among many others who struggle in solidarity and in support of migrants fleeing extreme violence and poverty. And if you scroll down, one of the first people that is supported in this is Bartolo Antonio Fuentes. This is the same guy that was interviewed in that Univision hack piece, this is my opinion, that was done shortly after I went to Tijuana and to San Diego and confronted Nicole Ramos, where she denied me an interview. And this guy was in that puff piece by Univision, basically questioning whether any of these people, all of whom have been accused of human smuggling, are really criminals, which included that Ulises guy, which included the Irineo Mujica. Do you guys remember that? And it included Bartolo Antonio Fuentes. He was one of the first people interviewed in that segment by Univision, which I shared with you on my show. And now he is on this page. Who else is here? Why, none other than Nicole Ramos. In fact, this is where that video was posted with the caption, Nicole directs the Border Rights Project Al Otro Lado, works with asylum seekers in Tijuana. And under her is Irineo Mujica. He is also on here. One of the most brazen human smugglers, stealing money from the migrants, exploiting them and leaving them stranded in Mexico because he doesn't really care about the outcome. He cares about getting the money. And says that he's been working as a human rights defender for 15 years, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read all of that nonsense, but I just wanted to show it to you. And if you scroll even further down, all the way at the bottom, I haven't looked into these others, folks. I don't know who Trans Queer Pueblo is, but there's Scott Warren of No More Deaths, who is currently undergoing the second hearing about his harboring of people in the barn where Irineo Mujica took some migrants for him to harbor after they were in communication with Scott Warren, the migrants, and Irineo Mujica for weeks prior, coordinating what he calls human rights work. And let me just share with you that Irineo Mujica, the Prami Ibero is right here in the page that I shared with you right now, the University of Iberoamericana, and in this tweet you have Amnesty International, Amnesty Mexico, saying that there should be an end to the harassment of, migrant defenders. And they are denouncing the fact that these government agencies, including the National Guard that I told you stopped and threatened to arrest Irineo, detained him. And they're demanding an examination of the situation from SEGOB and SSPC Mexico in that tweet. Let's listen to the video that they made for him, Irineo Mujica. I may have to translate this.
Okay.
Because it's in Spanish.
Here we go. Protect one. Empower over 1,000 frontline defenders.
Irineo Mujica is a human rights defender supporting migrants from Central America heading north. On June 5th, he was detained in Mexico falsely charged with human trafficking. He's a defender. That says the same thing in Spanish. Falsely charged. My name is Irineo Mujica. I'm the director of People Without Borders. I started working with migrants many years ago in the U.S., helping migrants at a church back then. And they were doing tax returns at the time, helping the church, helping them find jobs, and sometimes going to court with them, with translations or in hospitals or things like that. I gradually started because of a promise to my family. There's things that happen to people that shouldn't happen to them because they don't know how to read, because they're different, because they're indigenous. I have indigenous roots. I saw that a lot in my dad, seeing he was denied health care because he was a Mexican and indigenous in the U.S. That really impacted me. Then it was a way of healing to start to work with migrants, to work and to see. I think that really raised my awareness, seeing the situation, especially of Central Americans. What happens to some people, like my dad, because they don't know how to read or because they're indigenous, they don't think they're worth enough. When I started, one of my promises was to go as far as my religion and my convictions required me to go. And I would devote some of my efforts to it. Over time, I realized that it became my mission for me, for what we do. Being a human rights defender often means sacrificing yourself to help others. Being a defender gives you the opportunity, the privilege to serve and to make a difference. Being a defender, for me, has been a privilege, but it's also been very painful, very, very hard. You have to sacrifice yourself, and you make your family suffer, and you suffer. Usually I don't think about how
o qué tan grande
complex
es el problema.
the problem or
Y
how big it
poco
is. I focus
en lo poco que podamos
on
hacer.
the
Sé
little we
que
can do to
me
help.
ayuda a saber que no tengo que ser
And it
a
helps
casa, no
me
tengo que
to
hacer,
think that
solamente ser parte
I just
de lo que yo
need to
pueda aportar
contribute
desde mi punto de
what I
vista, desde mi
can
lugar
from my
pequeño,
place,
sin
from
nada
my
más. En
small
una casa,
place.
lo único que
In a
soy yo
house, I'm
es,
just the sand that
podría
holds the
decir,
bricks
la
together,
arena que junta el
or a
tabique
piece of it.
o un pedazo del deseo. O sea, no necesitas
You
ser
don't
un
have to
cuarto
be
realmente para dar,
a whole
no
room to
necesitas
contribute. You don't have to
simplemente,
be,
pues, o sea,
you just have to be part of the
hacer
solution,
parte de la solución o al menos estar en lo que va.
or just,
Entonces,
be
sí
part
sé
of
que
it,
es
things. I
complejo,
know
sí sé que es
it's very,
difícil,
very complex and
sí sé
difficult,
que,
and the world belongs to everyone,
pero el mundo es de todos y todos tenemos que
and we all have to
contribuir.
contribute.
Creo que estamos aquí
We're here
porque
because
sabemos de alguna manera luchar y subsistir.
we know how to
Y
subsist
sí es
and
lo
keep
más duro a veces que
survive. It's very
personas,
hard.
o sea, que tú piensas
You know,
de
when
alguna manera que deberían de servir
that people
al
should be
propósito de
doing
algo que
this
es bueno,
and
que
be
debería
doing
ser
something
de
good, and they
alguna
don't.
manera el ayudar al prójimo.
Sometimes
a
you
veces,
feel
¿verdad?
like
Sientes o sea, que gente tan poderosa,
that
o sea,
people that are that
quieran,
powerful,
como nos han querido todo el
they want
tiempo
to
a los
just wipe us
indígenas,
off the face of the
deshacernos
earth
de la faz de la
like they've
tierra
tried to
y
do to us
quitarnos.
as indigenous people. I'm so confused. Was he referring to indigenous people's genocide and his origin story for why he started human smuggling is really suspect, because your dad couldn't get health care in the United States? What do you make of this nonsense? You? Thoughts?
Well, this is the guy who was picked up and is accused of human trafficking, human smuggling, and we've featured him several times because he is being put out as a hero, and it's something that we really need to look at is the indigenous people of the North and South. There's been many Standing Rock phonies who have been trying to create a prophecy and co-opt that whole message. And he is one that's falling into the centerpiece for that too. And it's really bizarre. And this is a guy who
I hadn't heard of this before.
This guy should have stayed in jail. We don't know what actually happened to him when he was arrested and he was released, but this guy should be in jail.
Let's look at who's defending this nonsense.
Yep.
Pueblos Sin Fronteras, of course, retweeted a thank you to the Defenders page, saying that thank you for the reunion that we had today about the criminalization of human rights defender Mujica and Cristobal Sanchez. The deterioration of respect for human rights defenders in Mexico is very worrying for many organizations and institutions, and we thank you for your support. And that was a tweet by FLD America, which, if you look at here, shows pictures of Irineo Mujica and Cristobal Sanchez when they were at this encounter in Europe. And you see at Prami Ibero, frontline HRD, that is putting out this propaganda on their page, and at Prami Ibero, that is part of that web page that I just showed you in highlight. All of them working together to defend these human smugglers. And of course, on the right, you see Irineo Mujica there standing next to Alex Mensing of Pueblos Sin Fronteras. So all of them were there together. This is what Ray Stern tweeted out about the same stuff. This is the same video. Former Phoenix resident Irineo Mujica, the central focus of the migrant aid court case of No More Deaths member Scott Warren. But he's also facing 24 years in Mexican prison for helping migrants in Mexico. Check out Hannah Critch's story here. And there, of course, is the link to the video you just saw in the interview with Irineo Mujica. And this was posted by a Phoenix reporter. Check out her Twitter profile information on the right there. Oh, can you go back to Ray Stern there? Check out. Nope, the other side, honey.
The other right?
Yeah. Partner to my beautiful wife, father to 2 awesome kids, Phoenix New Times news editor. So this is a news editor in Arizona. And AJ Plus also tweeted out their support of this nonsense. We've seen a lot of their videos. Al Jazeera Plus said a judge did not find enough evidence to charge Irineo Mujica with human trafficking, the guy from Pueblos Sin Fronteras, but the DA of Mexico insists on criminalizing the activists and ignored the decision of that judge. Today was his appeal hearing. Today was his hearing. This happened this is what human rights defenders, our migrant defenders in Mexico are facing, and it goes along with this little video. Check it out. Nope, that's not the right video. That is not the right video. We need the AJ Plus video.
One moment.
Which is in Spanish. And it looks like the...
It's from Twitter?
Huh?
This one here?
Nope. That is the video for the MSN.com video. That's the MSN.com video. What you need is... Yeah. See, Denuncia Pueblos Sin Fronteras is the MSN.com video, which is right after the AJ video on the script. Check it out. That's the correct name that is on the video right there. You don't need to change this video's name because that's the correct name for it. It's not titled AJ Plus video, you see. That one's the AJ Plus video.
Okay.
Here we go. We got the right one now. And this one is from AJ Plus in Spanish, so I will once again have to translate for you. Being a defender of human rights of migrants, some activists and various NGOs feel like there's a new policy being applied to them in Mexico. It's not a coincidence that we're the first political prisoners of the fourth transformation. We've been the most harassed for defending migrants. Irineo Mujica and Cristobal Sanchez, defender of rights of migrants, were detained in June of 2019, accused of trafficking people. Supposedly, I took 7,000 pesos to take some people that I was supposed to take these 3 people, a couple and a kid, for 7,000 pesos to Monterrey. In the first place, that's not enough to even pay for transportation. Now, this isn't the first time these activists have been harassed by authorities. It shows video of them in Mexico City being arrested, and Irineo being arrested, and Cristobal Sanchez being arrested in Mexico City. We're going through this strange a level of harassment, including defenders of human rights, where they're being detained in Mexico in this strange period of time. It gives you the impression that they're giving the United States the results they want. There's Alex Mensing. None of the charges stuck. Against Irineo Mujica, even though the judge did not proceed, the federal DA can still seeks to punish them. We were the most visible, and that's the reason why they want to criminalize us. First us. They're doing the dirty work of Donald Trump on steroids. This administration of the Institution of Mexican Immigration is in Agua Prieta, Mexico, the center of Mexican detention. They accuse the National Guard of trying to go inside of their installations. The INAMI, since AMLO's take over, they used us at one time. They had a dialogue of cooperation, and then in the end, they didn't follow through. We've helped a lot of people and women, children. We definitively have to get support because we can't help the way we were doing it. Why? Because they're trying to criminalize us. And that's it. Okay. So you get the propaganda, right? You get the propaganda that's all behind all of this is that they're human rights defenders and they're being falsely accused. They want to say, as you saw in the video that is being put out there right now by these frontline defenders with Nicole Ramos, that it's me, that it's Anthony, that it's Oscar. But in fact, they were denounced by the people they smuggled. Here's Pueblo Sin Fronteras denunciation made on MSN.com in Mexico, where, and I will share the link to this article for you guys all to, if you could throw that in the comments there, Nemo. Denuncia Pueblo Sin Fronteras, MSN.com. You can see for yourselves this report where I'm going to translate again. In Spanish, the people are denouncing the human smuggling and the theft of their resources. It says, we are again in Tijuana, where many migrants had arrived in the caravan, say that they were brought here with lies. One organization was promising they would cross the border and they would go to the United States without difficulties. And they say that that was all a lie. Agustin listened to their complaints. That's true. As this situation continues to get worse in that border city, they're all being deported by authorities. For Ulises, the American dream has ended. He traveled with the caravan, but he says they lied to him. We were reunited in Tacoma, and they told us, don't worry. There's going to be transportation, doctors. The United States would open the door so we could come in. Other migrants said the same. They told us that when we were all united there, they would open the border for us so we could come in and we could request asylum. The truth is that's not what happened. On their Facebook page, Pueblo Sin Fronteras takes responsibility for bringing the first caravan and also the Exodus. The defender of human rights, Father Solalinde, said he's worried. They caravanized migration, and they can't do that. They have left people stranded. People have been kidnapped. The law enforcement told them, those who break the law will be processed under our laws. Hundreds of migrants have not been able to cross into the United States and decided to try to get papers in Mexico and get to work. With the caravan or without of that one, are all arriving in a city that is requiring. You can stop it. They have asked for, they are needing a lot of humanitarian aid in Tijuana. As you know, that problem has not subsided. I can share many more of these testimonies where the people that were trafficked by Pueblos Sin Fronteras lied to, in combination with these lawyers from Al Otro Lado, these crooked, unethical lawyers, in combination with the leadership of the LGBTQIA caravan Pitaya Queen and Diversidad Sin Fronteras, in combination with Border Angels, in combination with a lot of these folks. And the people themselves are saying that they were mistreated and lied to. Look, this one from Milenio has the headline, they lied to us. Our dream went to poop, said a migrant. And it shows the quotes in this article below, written by Jose Antonio Belmont, that says that, you know, it has the quote of that one guy that you just saw, but it has other quotes here They were told, according to this article, that they weren't going to have to cross through the river, that the United States would open their doors and they would be able to just walk right in. A man named Ulises Lopez that you saw in that other interview, here's an extended quote. He said, "This was a trick that they set for us, those of us in the migrant caravan from Honduras, because that's what I think of it as, a trick, una trampa." That's what he said. Fue una trampa lo que nos tendieron a la caravana de migrantes hondureños, because that's what it is to me, a trick. The people that brought us here to this place, supposedly leaders, made money off of us. They used us in a horrible manner that doesn't have name what they've done to us, said Ulises Lopez, originally from Honduras. It goes on. "We came with hopes, with determination, Honduran determination. We were coming up here trying to give other people hope that they were going to get out in front of everything. Let's go, let's keep going. We're going over there," they told us. But when we got here, our dream went to poop, he lamented. For their part, Pueblos Sin Fronteras affirmed that this type of complaint seeks to defame and criminalize them. So if you expose the fact that Irineo, Mujica, and Pueblos Sin Fronteras robbed you of thousands of dollars, lied to you, left you stranded somewhere, and didn't follow through with their promises, you're trying to criminalize human rights defenders. I get it. The very people that you defrauded and exploited can't defend themselves or tell anyone what you did. I see. What do you think about that, Duke? Is that okay?
No, it's not okay. And, in these articles, we've been talking about this for a long time, that people were told lies from the very beginning and came in false pretenses. And we've been watching hearings in Congress, and the Congress people in this country have no idea. They don't have the background on any of this. They're still speaking like these people were just fleeing horrible conditions, and they all deserve a right to seek asylum. And they don't even know the backstory of the caravans. And and they're trying to legislate that right now.
Exactly. But they don't even know what they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
They're obviously not paying attention to different news organizations and sources in Mexico, like Cibermedios. In this article, they talk about how the migrants, again, were being exploited. Migrants denounce Pueblos Sin Fronteras, and it says in parentheses, an NGO through an NGO funded by Soros. Oh, I'm the one that's supposedly accusing them of that, according to that Nicole Ramos video. Mm-hmm. But actually, I am just reading headlines, folks.
Yep, exactly.
I'm just reading articles and telling you what they say. You all have thinking caps. You can put them on and make decisions for yourselves, right?
Right.
So it says at the very top of this article, utilizing manipulation and fraud. In the first paragraph of the article, it says that they kept them in limbo without giving them any guarantees. But it appears that the migrants are finally realizing the true geopolitical and criminal agenda that used them like a massive migration weapon. Weapon. This is what I have been saying, folks. This is exactly what I have been telling you they are being used as. And they have no clue. And the Congress members you speak of, Duke, they have no clue. Or how about this article with the headline that they were lied to in order to get them to the border? And how about this other one in the Sin Embargo publication, in which Father Solalinde, the activist you just saw, They're accused the organization Pueblos Sin Fronteras of utilizing the Central American and the Mexican migrants, including him. They abused and used and exploited him to cross coyotes, which in Spanish are called polleros, armed persons, and to take in an to cause in a sensationalized way, take all of these people to the border with Tijuana, where they will have no solutions. Solalinde narrated how he was used by the organization to transport migrants to Mexico City, and how activists from Pueblos Sin Fronteras then boycotted him and did not allow him to give the migrants information so that they could get their legal documentation during their route to Tijuana, the border city that was declared in humanitarian crisis by its mayor. He's quoted here. I want to make this complaint against Pueblos Sin Fronteras. They have no scruples. Unfortunately, they have taken advantage of others. Okay. All right. So, once again, I just want to point out that liars are going to lie, I guess. These defenders without borders are defenders without scruples, in my opinion, and in the opinion of Padre Solalinde and other people, other reporters. It ain't just me, but maybe I'm just the one that's coming with more facts. Maybe I'm just the one that's smarter because I speak Spanish and I'm coordinating and I am listening to the Mexican people. Maybe that is what is such a problem for these folks, because they don't want to hear from this Mexican crossing lines. They don't want to hear the truth about what's going on. And finally, to close out today's show, I wanted to share with you about the Hawaiian protest. Everybody's been sending me stuff about the Hawaiian protest.
Hola.
And I don't know if you know about this, but it is about a telescope. In this ABC News article, it's talking about the Hawaiian protesters that are on, they're trying to stop the telescope, and they're all getting arrested. I was sent information that Mama LaDonna, that brought us the whole Standing Rock shenanigans, was sending people out there to protest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I saw Joy Brunn begging for money on her page, saying, from the Indigenous Environmental Network, saying like, I don't have any money. I don't have enough money to go and stand in solidarity. And I really want to go to Hawaii. I'm sure you do. I'd like to go to Hawaii also.
Yeah, me too.
But, these people just want to muck things up, in my opinion. Maybe you think that a telescope, that science being placed at the top of a mountain, is a giant source of pollution and is going to cause all sorts of damage to the earth and the sacred mountain upon which they are protesting. But I don't know. I have a hard time believing when I see who's promoting these types of actions. I think many of the people that are standing in solidarity with them and who are protesting may very well be getting exploited and used, just like the migrants in these caravans have been. Just like a bunch of the nice people that went out to Standing Rock to answer the call to protect the Missouri River water for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe were also exploited, lied to, used, and put in danger's way. But this article says that police in riot gear temporarily lined the road to the top of Big Island Mountain, which is valued by astronomers for its consistently clear weather and minimal light pollution, and the site for the 1.4 billion 30-meter telescope, expected to be one of the world's most advanced telescopes. Duke, what's wrong with the telescope? What is it hurting?
Well, and I haven't.
Is it going to blow up?
No. Once it's there, it's just and it's like any road. They have to do some roads up there. They have to actually move. foundation and do all that stuff. But all those protesters flew there using airplanes, drove their cars on roads that have been going over land. The environmental impact of doing something like that is going to be minimal because the footprint it puts on there is going to be quite small. And also in the effort of science and having better handle on the climate issues, it's going to be very beneficial for the world to have. So I think this is one of those opportunist protests to go to Hawaii. LaDonna's still burning her money up,
Yep.
taking groups out there. Perfect opportunity to get the people together so they get their instructions for the next things they need to do.
Well, according to this article, let me read some of this to you. They filed a lawsuit last week, okay? And they said that the project must post a security bond equivalent to the construction contract costs before they can start to build. But what one of the protest leaders said, Mr. Kanuha, told reporters on Tuesday that efforts to stop the telescope was about protecting Hawaii's indigenous people. Can you understand?
I see.
He said, and I quote, "This is about our right to exist. We fight and resist and we stand or we disappear forever." So explain to me how... Do you understand what they're saying? The telescope is going to destroy them?
I don't.
I'm confused.
I'm
trying to understand. I'm not
not
trying
a very
to be...
well couched issue. It's like, are they living on top of the mountain? Are they being displaced from their home? Is it going to cause economic and environmental harm to them? They should consider those sorts of impacts when they build anything. But that's not what this article is saying. This is about people protesting. They're jumping in. They're saying this, and they're doing this all over the northern hemisphere, and is looking at indigenous issues and putting them at the forefront because, like I said, these hacktivists, activists, faketivists need an issue. They're going to continually milk issues till they get one they can milk till they're done milking it, and they go on to the next one to milk.
Well, Digital Smoke Signals was out there along with all of these Pueblos Sin Fronteras scammers moving people in the caravan to the Tijuana border, as you recall.
Mm-hmm.
What did he have to say about this Manua Kae protest? Well, he says that there are settler science. This is settler science.
Settler science.
Would you post the page post on Digital Smoke Signals, please?
Where is that at?
It's in the script.
Which scene?
Oh, it's in scene 2, at the end of scene 2, after the telescope.
I see it. Thank you.
After the telescope article that we just read,
Mm-hmm.
in which Digital Smoke Signals posts about this settler science by Nick Estes. He shares this, and it says, settler science, and science is in quotes because science isn't real. So you got to put it in quotes, you see.
I see.
Settler science regarding Mauna Kea. To look to the stars, we must trample the caretakers of this sacred mountain underfoot, beat them, vilify them, lock them away, so we can better understand our place in the universe. Does that help you understand their fight better? At all? I don't know. I'm trying to understand it here with us.
Asking for a friend? I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And they are going to all stand in solidarity, including Suzy Desba. This is in scene 3 now, where she's also posting her solidarity with this event at Mauna Kea. And then also we have others. Are you going to show us the scene 3?
I'm trying to. It's frozen.
Oh, no. Does that mean we can't finish the show?
Oh, no.
That's sad. We're not able to go to the next scene.
Oh, hold on. You have to always give me a moment.
We also have John Gonzalez. Remember John Gonzalez, the guy that posted a video of himself crying, listening to the scammer Marcus Mitchell, who was asking for money for his fake bullet wounds?
Mm-hmm.
He's posting his solidarity as well.
Oh, yeah.
And we also have Doug McLean, who worked side by side with Myron Dewey, who was in Tijuana giving fake information and false hope to these migrants that were exploited by Pueblos Sin Fronteras and the Border Support Network. He posted his support of all of this, as did Prolific the rapper. You may recall him from Standing Rock, where he is making some strange comparisons to Standing Rock about what's happening in the Hawaiian protest, saying, "Good morning. Can someone update me on what's happening to the Mauna today and yesterday? I heard the governor there has declared a state of emergency, just as Governor Dalrymple did at Standing Rock." These political robots follow the same pattern. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Prolific. It just so happens that the state of North Dakota filed a $38 million lawsuit against the federal government because of all of the money that it lost in law enforcement costs here in the state of North Dakota. I told you it was over $30 million. Here's the lawsuit, and it's for 38. It says that they sued the federal government to recover the $38 million the state spent while responding to this manufactured, mounted theatrical event put on by Francis Fisher and Friends, and funded by Bernie Sanders. And, the stage was taken by many actors, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Linda Sarsour and so many others that are now involved with putting the families belong together nonsense in our faces. The lawsuit comes a year after Wayne Stenjum filed a claim that said the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in action required the state to provide sustained large-scale public safety response at the protest. Governor Doug Burgum has said officers made 761 arrests in 8 months, while 1,400 law enforcement officers assisted with protest efforts, despite pleas from the state's congressional delegation that the agencies discuss a settlement. Stenjum said Thursday the court did not respond to the state's claim. Quote, "Now, with this lawsuit, they'll have no choice at long last to come in and attempt to explain in a court of law its abdication of its responsibilities under the law," Stenjum told reporters in a news conference at the state capitol. So that's what can happen to any place, any state, including Hawaii, where these people roll up, where these people show up to cause chaos and create havoc. And no one is more upset than one of the La Llorona, the first person that called people out to Standing Rock to stand in solidarity and protect the water. Like Winia Locke, she had this to say about the filing. "This was North Dakota's officials' fault. If didn't have the money, North Dakota should not have racked up a bill against unarmed people." Oh, Winia.
Yeah.
That's what they do. It's what they live for. These poor, unfortunate souls. They are always the victims. But as long as they call themselves defenders without borders or defenders of human rights, they think they can deflect the fact that they are mercenary activists that are causing a lot of pain, exploiting people in Mexico and all over the world. So we will keep bringing you more reports about their activities and what they're really trying to say. What's really behind this propaganda? Here on A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
On 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And I thank you very much for being with us tonight.